Hi, everyone, and welcome to Faith in an Ever-Changing World, Encouragement and Hope Faith Story. I'm Janet Harley, your host, and today it is my pleasure to introduce you to Kelly Swanson. Kelly is an award-winning storyteller, comedian, motivational speaker, Huffington Post contributor and cast member of the Fashion Hero television show airing on Amazon Prime. She is also the author of Who Hijacked My Fairy Tale, The Land of If Only, The Story Formula, and The Gusty Girl's Pocket Guide to Public Speaking. She is a featured entertainer or was a featured entertainer for Holland America Cruise Lines, keynote speaker for the International Toastmasters Convention, and has keynoted major conferences and corporate events from coast to coast. Kelly's wacky wit and powerful stories have charmed hearts and tickled funny bones for over 15 years. In addition to her role as a funny motivational speaker, Kelly teaches people how she does it by sharing what she has learned about connecting and engaging to have more influence in business through the use of one tool, strategic storytelling. Sharing her own powerful journey through story and the formula she discovered, you come to that magical place where the art of story meets the business of persuasion. That is just awesome, Kelly. I've known Kelly for, wow, we met way back in the North Carolina Storytelling Guild, and for years worked together as members of that. And so I've known Kelly for a long, long time and love her and her storytelling. And thank you so much for joining me, being my guest today, Kelly.
Well, thank you, Janet. We have known and loved each other for a long time. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
It's the amount of years that you stop counting. That's how
That's
long
right.
it is.
Yes.
You don't.
That's why I said a long, long time.
We don't want to count those anymore. Um, so we've walked a very similar walk in terms of
Yes,
being in
we
love with
have.
stories. And
Yeah.
thanks for having me on here today. I love what
Yes.
you're doing. I always get asked to speak about, like the stuff in the bio, storytelling in business or to tell stories. And I don't
Mm.
often get asked to talk about my faith. And
Yes.
so I love what you're doing and
Thank you.
having a place, there can't be enough of them, where
Mm.
we're just sharing our faith. So anybody listening, this isn't performer Kelly, this isn't teacher Kelly today. It's just me being invited to talk about something that I
Yes.
don't often get a chance to. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. And it's wonderful. And if you will, Kelly, please share your faith story with us.
Well, and you told me you were going to ask me that, and that
Mhm.
when I was thinking about it, I thought, okay, well, that's hard. We first think, well, my story's not exciting enough, to be, that faith story has got to be, and I actually didn't even land on one because there are it's when you talk about your faith, there are so many stories of
There are.
of where God has shown up or
Mhm.
where we've seen his handwriting in our lives.
Mhm.
And
I mean, they continue.
they
We
do.
continue to have faith stories.
Right. And then last night I said, I know what I want to tell them about. It was about this time. And I think it's pretty applicable to what we're going through now, but it happened to me a few years ago. And I was going to speak at a women's event,
Mhm.
and it was a church event, and there were, I don't know, probably 400 women there. And I was working on a news story called Starfish. Now, this isn't for motivational speakers and a waitress named Star. For those of you who know this story, this goes back even further. And Janet, you may have even heard this story about the yard sale that happened in the church yard sale and all the things that
Yes.
went wrong with that. And if now people are going to be like, where can I see that? It's somewhere on YouTube. It's called Starfish, and it's not even me on video. I did it so long ago. You'll just hear the music and audio. But if it blesses, it's a neat story. Just go way back or ask us and we'll show you how to find it. But anyway, so I had written this story. This was the first time I was going to tell it at this women's event. And the story has a song in it. And I don't really sing well. Sometimes I don't mind, throwing a tune out a little bit, but it was also kind of hard for me to sing. But there's the opening of the story, and I don't have time to tell you the story here today, and I'd rather you hear it the way it was written, and I don't remember a lot of it. But the woman, the story starts with a woman, and she's something like sitting there in the dark, strumming on her old guitar, watching her tiny baby sleep in her faded calico dress, one wrinkle shy of being pressed, and wondering how she'd ever make ends meet. And so it's this scene about this woman who's just down on her luck. And she's trying to remember the words that her mama used to sing, something about clouds that roll back like a scroll, and something mama called her king. And so I knew, because I wrote the story, that the song she was trying to remember was, as most of you already know, It Is Well With My Soul. And so I get in front of this audience, and I'm getting to that part. And when I had practiced it at home, it just was kind of high for me to try to reach. And I didn't want to spoil the moment of the story. So in my head, I'm kind of like, well, you're just going to have to sing it when you get to that point. And so I get there, and she's remembering we have to go to the end of the story where we're back to that scene, and she's sitting there in the dark, and suddenly she remembers that song, and something has happened to her in the middle, which you got to go listen to the story to find out. And suddenly the words, they rolled over her soul, the words her mama used to sing, and like a warm, soft coat, they held her close as she sang to her new king. And I get a couple of the words out. When peace like a river attendeth my soul.
My soul, yes.
And Janet, 400, it gives me goosebumps, 400 women without missing a beat automatically joined me. All they needed almost was when peace, and they were in it.
Wow.
Began to sing it with me. And I was so caught up in the emotion and those words, peace like a river attendeth my soul. When sorrows like sea billows roll,
yes.
Whatever thy lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well. It is well with my soul. I never grow tired of hearing that.
Oh,
so
I know.
I'm standing there on the stage, and the audience of women, they're singing. I mean, they were, many of them grew up hearing this hymn.
Yes.
And they're harmonizing, and it was just like I was wrapped up in this blanket of warmth and notes and spirit. And I don't even think I was singing anymore. I was just receiving that gift of being wrapped up in it. And it was a beautiful moment. And I did the rest of my program, and as you know, there's laughs in it, and marriage, and jokes, and about my husband and his nose whistling when he eats a sandwich, and we're laughing. We got all the feels, and then we're going through that. It's over, and I'm signing books, and people are lining up to talk to me, and and I love doing shows like that because everybody stays around to talk and hug your neck, and so it took a while to get through everybody until there was one last woman left standing there. And she was, I finally figured out she was waiting for everybody to be gone. She kind of wanted her moment. And I could tell her face was red. I could tell she'd been crying. And I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? What did I step in it again? I mean, sorry about that part, God. I'm not sure he likes everything I write. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to make somebody sad. And so she comes up to me, and she's barely holding herself together. And she said, I just wanted to tell you that I didn't want to come tonight. I said, okay. And she said, my husband just passed away recently. And she said, and I'm having a really hard time with it. And she said, I didn't want to come out here. My friends made me come. And I'm thinking, Janet, oh my gosh, I've talked about marriage and I'm talking about his nose whistling, and this woman's just lost her husband. And I'm thinking, and it's all about fairy tales and marriage. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've totally erased it. They're like, so I immediately, it's what I do. We're from the South, start apologizing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take you. And she goes, no. She goes, no, that's no. It was great. I needed to laugh. I loved it. And she said,
Yes.
here's the thing. She said, I've been praying for a sign. She said, I just needed some sign. I guess that my husband was okay or just something. She said, I'd been praying to God for a sign. And she said, I got it tonight. So I'm getting all puffed up like a peacock going, patting myself on the back, not proud, but just started feeling that, okay. I gave her sign, and, and she's hugging me and she's leaning up and we're just hugging and crying. And she whispers in my ear and she says, it was when those women sang. She was like, that was my sign. And she said, what you don't know is that was my husband's favorite hymn. And she said, and what you also don't know is that those were the very last words he sang to me before he died.
Kelly. Wow.
And we just, what do you say? So I get into my car and I'm just sitting there in the parking lot, Janet. And I was like, oh God, I get it. The one moment I did not orchestrate or plan or script or craft, the one moment I had nothing to do with was the moment that had changed this woman's life. I'm being dramatic. Maybe it didn't change her life, but you know what I mean. Was the moment when God showed up and scrolled his handwriting across her life and gave her the comfort and love that she wanted. And I was like, oh, wow, this isn't about me, is it? This isn't about what I write. This isn't about what I'm choosing to say. You didn't even use what I chose to say. You used a different moment.
Yeah.
You just needed me to be there.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm late to the party. I don't always get these things, but it was a moment when I went, oh, he's using my hands, my feet, my presence, this moment to do his work. And how blessed I am that I get a front row seat.
Absolutely.
And when I was thinking about, I've thought of that many times. It reminds me and it grounds me. And why did it come up yesterday? And I was thinking, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Because I forgot that a little bit in 2020. And even now, I get scared, Janet. Really frightened about what's happening or what might happen. And about the things our country's been through. And I'm sure anybody listening, you know the feeling. You just turn on the news and it's frightening. And that sense of we can't control so much of this or any of it. I can't do anything. And so, not to be Debbie Downer, but I needed to be reminded. I know we say that all the time. God's in control. He's in control. And he is. That's not a truth, but he is. And so it's so comforting to me to know that that sometimes I don't have to do anything, that he's using me to be his hands and his feet in these moments to tell a bigger story or to tell a
Right.
different. There is another story going on here. And
Yeah.
sometimes I lose sight of that and it becomes all about this story.
Yeah.
Whereas I need to be reminded to go back to his
Hmm.
story and see everything in alignment with that.
Yes.
And another thing too is as a speaker, when you say, Kelly, tell me about your faith, it comes up a lot in my business. And that sense of standing on a stage, and maybe some of you, if you're listening that are speakers, get this totally. And I know you do, Janet, of is this good enough? Am I good
Mm.
enough?
Yeah.
Am I giving you, I still fall into that pattern of wanting to check the box of doing it right. And I know that's not how God sees us, but I still, am I good enough? Is this worthy? Did I please you? Is this the right thing to do? Often, and I know even if those of you listening aren't giving speeches, there might be a little of that in your life. Am I
Hmm.
doing enough? Am I good enough? Because that's
Mm.
what society feeds us.
Yeah.
And I love that story because it reminds me that when I step, that it isn't about being good enough or doing the right thing or a performance. And when I
Hmm.
get afraid of my ability to get up on a stage and speak, whatever little lie that's being whispered into my head that tells me I don't have the right to be there gets
Right.
knocked down, because the truth is, it's not about me. He's using me to do his work. And when I remind myself of that, it's so simple, but so profound. It's not about how well you perform. It's not about how good I look doing it. It's not whether I
Hmm.
remembered the lines. It's not even whether I was able to touch somebody's heart.
Right.
I'm getting a front row seat into a
Hmm.
bigger story that's being told. And
Hmm.
that is a message that I needed to be reminded of today in my business, in my life. And maybe, well, I know maybe's about it. God's using this moment for a
Hmm.
reason to give somebody a similar message. So when you asked me, share your faith story, that's the one that popped into my head today, Janet.
That's
That's
wonderful, Kelly. Yes. And it's a great reminder for all of us. We get so focused a lot of times on things other than God
Mhm.
and what He has for us. And so we do need to be reminded, especially in these times, that as you say, God is in control and He doesn't want us to be anxious about anything.
Just
So
like his eyes on the sparrow. And his
that's
word is
it.
good and his promises are good. And we
Yes,
know how this story ends,
that's right.
which is
That's
beautiful. That's what I constantly
victorious.
tell myself is, whoa, wait a minute. I already know how this story ends
Yes,
and I already know my place in it.
right, right. And that's what we need to hold on to. He is our hope. God is our hope for us every day. And so we've got to hold on to that and hold on to our faith in Him.
Yes. And
Keep
an
our
ever,
trust in Him.
sorry to talk over you. I get
No,
excited. Um, and I'm looking at your title, Faith in an Ever Changing World. And it's such a great title because the world will always be
we are
changing.
changing. Yeah,
And so that's why it's so important that you know what you have to hold on to that doesn't
absolutely.
change. And some
Absolutely.
people listening don't know what that is. And he might be knocking on your door. Um, and if he does, please listen. Invite him.
Mm,
His word is good. His promises are good. And yeah, that won't ever change.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Kelly, thank you. It's been a joy to have you and for you to share your faith story. And thank you all for watching. Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from. Bye. God bless.